All right, Shalom. First off, I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father's true name, Yahweh Shai being the name of His only begotten Son. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles, the great millstone, who rule well and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walk Him throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. All right, this is the brother Masha Mayim, one of the men here with the GMS branch out here in the morning camp. Here with another quick lesson through the Spirit, and pretty much going into the why is it it says it's beautiful to dwell among the brethren. Okay, basically dealing with the brotherhood and why it's a blessing, right? And just going into different reasons, and just showing the importance of the brotherhood, right? But let's start off with the book of Psalms, chapter 133 and verse 1, and it reads, "A song of degrees of David. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." Okay, and that's where you see that goes on among all these different camps. Okay, among Great Millstone. Okay, the true men of the Lord. All right, this is where you see that goes on a lot, especially when brothers gather together. Okay, where it's a big gathering. Okay, for things like the Passover. Okay, different holidays. All right, or whether it be like a regional meeting, right? But basically just showing you, that being among the brothers, okay, is powerful, because as the Lord even said Himself, right? Let's get this real quick. This is Matthew chapter 18 and verse 20, and it reads, "For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them." Okay? So even just two brothers, right? Just two brothers dwelling together, whatever it may be that they got going on, but hey, the Spirit of the Lord is among them, okay? And I'm only speaking for the true men of the Lord, okay, that walk in the ways of Yahweh by Shem Shai in truth and in sincerity, right? But the Spirit of the Lord is among them, okay? And that's what makes it even more powerful, all right? But going back to Psalms 133 and 1, right? But pretty much, backing up, this precept and many different reasons why it's beautiful, right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 4. And we'll start at verse 9, and it reads, "Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor." Okay? For if they fall, right, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor, okay? And, dealing with, the brotherhood, the body, okay? Like I mentioned, even two brothers, okay? It's even more powerful, say you both are getting a lesson in, okay? Now, once again, not saying it's not, have you mighty through the Spirit, you're doing your own lesson, but, the Spirit is working with you both, and you're both inspiring each other, right? Or having a brotherhood, okay, you have an opportunity to be charitable, right? And those are different things. That's one thing that you'll be rewarded for, right? Verse 10, "For if they fall," verse 10, "For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not an other to help him up." Okay? So the brotherhood is there to uplift you when you're down. Okay? You can speak to a brother, and a brother will give you advice on what to do in a situation, especially if it's an older brother that has been through what you're going through, right? He's able to give you advice on what you're going through, right? Or just give you comforting words, okay? Which is what? To help you lift you up, Verse 11, "Again, if two lie together, then they have heat, but how can one be warm alone?" Verse 12, "And if one prevail against them, two shall withstand them, and a threefold cord is not is not quickly broken, right? Okay. And I know brothers reference that scene in Planet of the Apes a lot, right? Where he took one stick and he broke it, but then he took another stick, took two sticks and put them together, okay, and he tried to break it and it was harder to break, okay. And that's how it is when you're when brothers dwell together, okay, and are moving in the same spirit, okay. It's harder for different things and people and outside influences, okay, to you know, try and break that up, okay. Especially, of course, if this, through the spirit and power Yahweh by Shem Shah covering the brotherhood, all right. Because roughly paraphrasing, like the scriptures say, Satan walked about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Okay, so it's easier, for Satan to get into your mind. Okay, when you're always by yourself. Okay, and try to beat you down. Okay, but when you're among the brothers, okay, the spirit is able to work and uplift you. Okay, because real quick too, it's also a refreshing feeling. Like it says, let's get First Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 18, and it reads, right, this is a perfect one. First Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 18, wherefore comfort one another with these words, all right. And that's exactly what a brother does, okay, when he comes out of these scriptures, okay, and that's exactly what we do daily, pretty much, being in this in this captivity, all right. Different lessons brothers to do, all right. It's to continue to motivate and brothers, to keep pushing and to keep going harder, right? But like I mentioned too, even if you're down, right, and you go and speak to brothers about different things, right? That's also you being comforted, okay. And a lot of times, of course, a brother's always gonna go and to the scriptures, and bring out a precept for you, right? But let's also get the book of Philemon. The book of Philemon, chapter 1. And starting at the top, and it reads, Paul, a prisoner of Yahushua Mashiach, and Timothy, our brother, unto Philemon, our dearly beloved and fellow laborer, right? So this letter was a letter to Philemon, okay? Now I'm going to jump down to verse... Just jump down to verse 4, and it reads, I thank my power, making mention of thee always in my prayers, hearing of thy love and faith, which thou hast toward the Lord, Yahushua Mashiach, and towards all saints, right? So he was a beloved brother, right? Verse 6, that the communication of thy faith may become effectual by the acknowledging of every good thing which is in you in the Mashiach Yahushua, okay? So this brother Philemon, he had good works among the body, okay. Verse 7, for we have great joy and consolation in thy love, because the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee, brother, okay. So it said the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee, brother, and bowels meaning what? Your mind, okay. So being among brothers and different brothers, that do add a lot of edifying lessons when you watch the lessons or even be among them, okay. Your mind is able to be refreshed when you're among them, okay. The different gems they might give, all right, coming out of these scriptures, right, speaking things, speaking on their life experiences, their things they experience, right, to edify and or to give you wisdom, right? All that, refreshes your mind, okay? Let's also get the book of Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 17, and it reads, iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Okay? It says iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. So, it's self-explanatory. Like, you take two iron, like those things, a knife sharpener, right? And you take the knife against it, well, they're both iron objects, so what is sharpening each other was the same thing with the brotherhood. Okay, brothers, right? It says a friend, but a brother can be many different things. He can be, a brother is also a friend as well. Okay, edifying each other, speaking these comforting words, the different things you experience, right? However the Lord might have dealt with you, okay? The different the insight the Lord might have gave you on something, right? You speak about it, you edify a brother, right? Giving advice and counsel on different things to do, right? Hey, that sharpens another brother. Okay. From here, let's get the book of Luke, chapter 22 and verse 32, and it reads, we'll start at 31. This is Luke chapter 22 and verse 31, and it reads, and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not, and when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. Okay? And this is exactly what the apostles do for us, okay? The different experiences that they went through, okay? Because what did the Lord tell the Lord after he said that, right? He said, when you are converted, strengthen thy brethren. Okay? And this is exactly what the apostles do for us, all right? Like coming out of the scripture saying, edifying us, and advising us through these precepts, all right? So, but that's the point, just showing you the importance of the brotherhood and different reasons why, it's good, to be among the brothers, and also appreciating the brotherhood, all right? But that's the point, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles, the great millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walking throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. Shalom.